Surströmming is known for its extremely pungent smell, considered one of the most powerful odors globally. It is typically eaten with thin flat bread with onions and potatoes. Despite its challenging aroma, surströmming is cherished in northern Sweden, especially during the summer season when the surströmming premiere is celebrated.
Is any animal food which is fermented, we normally don't eat at all. If you must eat a little bit of curd, but that is only overnight fermented, 6 to 8 hours. If it's summer, just 4 to 5 hours. That's how we ferment, very carefully. You can't just put a serving spoon like this. You have to gently take from one side. Always they would tell us, it's alive. You have to handle it gently. Just from one side you take it and use it because it's live, it's living. See, United States America has to do a lot. I appreciate why it's become like that because it's a matter of 200, 250 years. When they came, people came here to a wild land, I don't know, a hot dog or some dog part or cow part, something it is selling. All men and women dressed very well. They're all standing there, holding food in their hands and like this, hacking at their food. I just saw this, and tears came to me. What's happened to these people? They're well-to-do, at least they can sit on the ground and eat properly. No, they're hacking at food, like even a wild animal won't eat like that. They had to learn to eat and enjoy rotting meat, otherwise they would be dead probably in those days. Similarly, I know this is a dangerous terrain to walk into in Western world. Cheese, which is also comes from that kind of thing. When winters came, people would have nothing to eat to keep their calories going, the only way was cheese. These are all the most terrible things to eat, if you ask me.
Sadhguru, what is the effect of fermented foods on one's ability to perceive?
So, in terms of fermented foods and perception, see any animal-based fermentation. When I say animal-based fermentation, there are cultures where meat is fermented, literally rotting is considered gourmet. There are parts of the world where it is eaten like that. This is the worst way to eat it, but in those cultures it's become gourmet because these were cultures which were in extreme cold or removed from the rest of the world for large parts of the year. If they had to eat food, they had to learn to eat and enjoy rotting meat, otherwise they would be dead probably in those days. Similarly, I know this is a dangerous terrain to walk into in Western world. Cheese, which is also comes from that kind of thing. When winters came, people would have nothing to eat to keep their calories going, the only way was cheese. These are all the most terrible things to eat, if you ask me, if you are thinking of perception. When we look at perception, the way to look at it is, whatever makes your body heavy and opaque in your experience, makes you feel the body is lumbering to digest that, that's not good for your perception, because body is made like this. If any one activity takes too much energy and effort, the other activities will recede. It's as simple as that. Suppose you're using your phone, playing too many videos, when you want to make the call, there's no power, the battery is out. It's just like that. You're using it too much on one level, another level goes down. So to keep the digestive process being a survival process, to keep it at where it should be, nothing more, nothing less, is important. Some fermentation will multiply the gut biome in many ways. So, when it comes to fermented food, it should be under your control. For example, in southern India, one fermented substance which is consumed daily in breakfast is idli, dosa. But if we go north of Pune, or even up to Pune, no, if we go north of Bangalore, we will not touch it. At least I will not. Because one thing, the idli feels like a golf ball. In the south, idli feels like a flower. As you go north, it becomes a golf ball, you could play with it. And they don't know how to ferment. They have over-fermented it all the time. So in south, it's becoming difficult there also. Otherwise, every woman at home would know, she'll just always with little finger, they touch it like this. No, this can't be used. They would simply know. Or if you are not very sensitive, if you smell it, if it's gone beyond a certain point, you will know it's fermented beyond a point where you should not eat. So this kind of fermented thing, we always go and offer to our flowering plants, because they flower better when they get this fermented dough. But once we see that it's fermented beyond that, we don't eat. The next thing is the curd or what you call as yogurt. It is just overnight fermented, it must be still sweet. If it's becoming sour, little sourness is okay, if it crosses that, we won't eat. Because if you ferment it beyond a certain point, then it creates a biome of its own, not support your biome. Little fermentation adds fuel to the existing stuff that is… Your stomach or your alimentary canal is fermentation. But it is a certain… fermentation is a certain culture, all right? Is it the right word, sir?
Yeah.
It's a culture.
Yeah.
It is a certain culture. So you want to culture this in a certain way that's beneficial for you, not simply culture it whichever way. If your stomach feels like a beer factory, then what? You're talking about perception. If you're talking about perception, your stomach should send signals to become more and more alert and sharp. If it makes you like this, then where is the perception? So one thing is, any animal food which is fermented, we normally don't eat at all. If you must eat a little bit of curd, but that is only overnight fermented, 6 to 8 hours. If it's summer, just 4 to 5 hours. That's how we ferment, very carefully. If people want to have a meal at 1 o'clock in summer in the afternoon, they will ferment it at morning 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, because the temperatures are hot. If it's cooler seasons, they'll ferment it just before going to bed in the night, next day it'll be ready. And this fermented thing, how you treat it. These days all this is gone, people around my table, I'm always trying to bring some sense to that. In our homes, if there is a curd which is just caked, you can't just put a serving spoon like this. You have to gently take from one side. Always they would tell us, it's alive. You have to handle it gently. Just from one side you take it and use it because it's life, it's living. See, United States of America has to do a lot. I appreciate why it's become like that, because it's a matter of 200, 250 years. When they came, people came here to a wild land. They sat and ate wherever, they stood and ate wherever. Even today they're doing that, they need not do. They've achieved a certain level of education, civilization, affluence. Now you must do what's best for you. I'll tell you my experience. One day I'm driving in Washington, D.C., in the business district, not in the political part, in the business where CEOs and lawyers and others are there. I don't know what these people are. Maybe CEOs are all young people, less than 35 years of age, all young people, obviously from Ivy League kind of people. And looking at their clothes and how they are, they're very well-to-do. They're all standing outside, this is around 12:30, 12:45, lunch hour I think for them. And there is some cart, maybe it's I don't know, a hot dog or some dog part or cow part, something it is selling. All men and women, dressed very well, they're all standing there, holding food in their hands and like this, hacking at their food. I just saw this, and tears came to me. What's happened to these people? They're well-to-do, at least they can sit on the ground and eat properly. No, they're hacking at food, like even a wild animal won't eat like that. This is not good.
Yeah.
How you eat something is as important as what you eat. I'll tell you, my first yoga teacher is when I was 11 years of age. And in that very simple ashram kind of place. Daily there's only one thing. It's called maize, but not the maize that you have, not the big maize. It's a millet, let's say. This millet and ragi millet, which is a smaller millet, and there is a pulse which is called as uruli, or in English they're calling it as horse gram, because the English started feeding it to their horses because the race horses were running better with that pulse. So it's called as horse gram today in the market, and greens which grow all around. So you would always say, ragi, jola, uruli, soppu, four things you eat, 100 years guaranteed. He died at 106, and he lived till the last day, fully active. I must tell you a little bit, I owe it to him. When he was 73, 74 years of age, he was also a doctor. Only on Mondays he's a doctor. Rest of the days he's traveling all around doing his yoga and stuff. Monday mornings he's always back in his center. The state government used to have special buses for this Monday morning business that happens there. This is, on that day he sits as an Ayurvedic doctor and he treats people. Those days 600 to 700 people would come from all over. This starts at morning 4 o'clock and goes on non-stop till evening. I used to volunteer there just to help him out with these things. For every patient that comes, he's got a joke to tell them, and this whole thing is like a festival. It's not like doctor-patient stuff. People come with ailments, when they're sitting and talking to him, they forget they're unwell, that kind of thing. So I don't know exactly, but a lot of hundreds of people claim their ailments are gone and stuff. He's treating them with medicine, not like any other things. So all this happens. So one Sunday night he came to a railway station, which is about 70 kilometers or 69 kilometers from where he is. And he found the trains were all cancelled because the railway union has gone on strike at that time. This was the George Fernandez time. Indians will understand who's George Fernandez. So, there were two other companions with him. He just left them on the railway platform and he just ran overnight. He ran 70 kilometers. Morning 4:30, he was there to treat them. He was 73 or 74 years of age at that time. And then, we used to get into the wrestling ring with him. I was around 15, 16, I was all muscle and I'm very quick, at least at that time. Even now I'm okay. Very quick means I'm much faster than other people in my movements. So in the wrestling ring, it matters not just the strength, how quick you are. Three of us, some of the other boys are much stronger than me. Three of us get against this man who is like 76, 77 at that time. He just pins us down. We never lasted more than a minute or two. Three boys, strong boys. So we would joke with him, when are you going to die? It looks like the way things are going, it looks like we are going first. When will you go? He would very confidently say, I have another 40 years of work, I'll finish that and go. The way things were going, it looked like he was going to fulfill it. It once happened 3 months before he passed away at 106. He was speaking in my city, in Mysore city, he was speaking on stage and he had a heart attack. They took him to a private hospital and he was in an ICU and he was unconscious. When he came to his consciousness somewhere in the middle of the night, he saw all these things plugged into him and he's never been to a hospital in his life. He just ripped off everything and he looked around, then he saw he was on the first floor, that is on the… in America it's the second floor. From there he got out of the window, he jumped down and he ran away, 105-year-old man. Unfortunately, 3 years later he died, but at 106. So, I'm saying, it's not about just how many great things you eat, it's the way you consume it, with what. Because you and food are not two separate things. Your body, the food that you eat, the soil that you walk upon, the water that you drink and the air that you breathe, these are not different from you, it is the same stuff here. It's just giving us an individual experience. If you treat it with as much love as you treat your children, if you can't see it as divine, at least if you treat it with as much love as you would treat your children, it would do fantastic things to you. Thank you.
Fermenting meat, while a traditional method of preservation in many cultures, can pose several health risks. Here are some of the potential health concerns associated with fermenting meat. In Iceland is a distinctive delicacy made from the Greenland shark. The preparation involves a multi-stage process to detoxify and preserve the meat. Initially, the shark is gutted, cleaned and buried in gravelly sand where it is pressed with stones for 6 to 12 weeks. This initial fermentation phase helps to reach out harmful substances. Following this, the shark is hung to dry for several months, during which it develops its characteristic strong ammonia smell. Hakal is often served in small pieces and is a traditional food at Icelandic Midwinter Festival, where it is celebrated as part of Icelandic heritage despite its intense flavor and odor. In Sweden, surströmming is a famous fermented fish dish made from Baltic herring. The preparation begins in spring, with the fish being fermented in a strong brine solution for 1 to 2 months. After this initial fermentation, the fish is canned, where it continues to ferment, often causing the cans to bulge due to gas production. Surströmming is known for its extremely pungent smell, considered one of the most powerful odors globally. It is typically eaten with thin flat bread with onions and potatoes. Despite its challenging aroma, surströmming is cherished in northern Sweden, especially during the summer season when the surströmming premiere is celebrated. Korea's hongyo is a traditional dish made from fermented skate. The fermentation process is unique because the skate naturally ferments without additional brine. The skate's uric acid permeates its flesh, creating a powerful ammonia smell. Hongyo is usually served as hongyo hoi with fish sliced raw, with side dishes like kimchi and boiled pork, bosam. This dish is particularly popular in southern Korea, particularly in the Jeolla province, where it is valued for its chewy texture and strong pungent flavor. Hongyo is an acquired taste and is a prominent feature in Korean culinary traditions. Greenland's kiviak is a traditional Inuit dish prepared using whole seabirds, typically auks, which are stuffed into a seal skin. The seal skin is then sewn shut and sealed with fat before being buried under stones to ferment for several months, often up to a year. The fermentation process results in a highly distinctive flavor and a strong cheese-like smell. Kiviak is typically consumed during special occasions and communal gatherings, providing a vital source of nutrients during the harsh Arctic winters when other fresh food sources are limited. The preparation and consumption of kiviak are deeply rooted in Inuit cultural practices and survival strategies. In Italy, culatello is a prized type of salumi from Parma region, known for its refined flavor and lengthy aging process. Made from the muzzle of pig's hind leg, the meat is carefully salted and massaged to remove moisture before being wrapped in a bladder and hung to cure in a humid and cool environment for up to 36 months. Unlike the more extreme examples of fermented meats, culatello does not have a pungent odor but is celebrated for its rich and complex flavor profile. It is often enjoyed thinly sliced, paired with bread and fine wine, showcasing the artisanal craftsmanship of Italian meat curing traditions. The careful aging process and the specific environmental conditions required for culatello production, making it one of Italy's most esteemed cured meats. These fermented meats, though varied in preparation methods and cultural context, all highlight the ingenuity and resourcefulness of traditional food preservation techniques. Each dish provides a unique tasting experience that reflects the cultural heritage and historical practices of its region, offering a fascinating insight into the diverse ways in which human societies have adapted to their environments and developed distinct culinary traditions. Fermenting meat, while a traditional preservation method, can pose several health risks if not done properly. It can lead to contamination with pathogenic bacteria, which cause severe foodborne illnesses. There is also a risk of toxic production such as botulinum toxin and the accumulation of harmful compounds like ammonia and histamines. Parasitic infections may occur if parasites in raw meat are not destroyed during fermentation. Additionally, mycotoxins from molds can develop, and high salt and nitrite content in fermented meats can contribute to hypertension and cancer risks. Nutrient loss and exposure to environmental contaminants are further concerns. Despite these risks, traditional methods redefined over centuries and strict adherence to modern food safety standards can mitigate many of these dangers, ensuring the safety of fermented meat products.